Have you ever had a near-death experience? Or perhaps someone you know may have had a near-death experience? Well, if so, we would love to hear your story and have you as a guest on our podcast. For more information, visit NDE.world. Again, that's NDE.world. We would love to hear your story.
Welcome to the NDE World Podcast, where we explore the magical, mystical, and spiritual world of near-death experiences. And now, Ashton Lewis and Daphne Lynn.
Welcome back to the NDE World. I am your host, Ashton Lewis, and my hostess, Miss Daphne Lynn. How's it going, Miss Daphne?
It's going really good. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. A pretty interesting episode today.
Put your boots on. It's going to get deep.
Yeah. We probably need to throw out a whole bunch of disclaimers before we get started, and we will here in a moment. But in case you are new, we are the NDE World Podcast. You can get more information about us at our website at nde.world. That's nde.world. And gives us more of an idea of what we do. So welcome those of you who are here for the first time, and welcome back those who are returning. Okay, now earlier I was looking in one of the Facebook groups, and there was a question that came up. In fact, here, let me get it real quick. And I kind of just want to bring it up and get some feedback from you on it. And I've got some things I wanted to kind of bring out. And I hear this question a lot, and I think it needs to be addressed. If for nothing else, for perspective purposes only.
Right.
Okay, I'm not here to challenge anybody's belief system. Okay, if you're easily offended, well, you may want to go ahead and find you another place to go to. I don't think you're going to want to stay here, because we're here to give different perspectives, and a lot of people can't grasp perspective. They think they only see one way. So we're not here to offend anyone. We love you all. We have total respect for everyone's belief systems. We're just here to actually just show the different perspectives that's out there. And, and more specifically, tying in a lot of with the actual near-death experience community and experiences as well.
Right. We can't be so hard and cold-pressed that this is the way things are, because we are not perfect here. We are way out of our consciousness.
The answer to it all, nobody knows.
Right.
But we do have experiences.
That's what I was going to say. We do have so many experiences that come back relating the same things.
We can get a sense of that this is pretty much the way things are, because these near-death experiences are all over the world, tens of thousands, and they have so many commonalities. But back to the subject at hand, at the Facebook question this morning, which is kind of giving me the idea of doing a podcast on this particular subject. And I'm going to go ahead and call this particular podcast, and I would name it with a question, Is Hitler in Hell? Okay? And that was pretty based on this question that I found here on Facebook. I'm going to read it to you here. The common theme from the being that NDE people encounter isn't one of judgment, but one that espouses pure love for the NDE person in spite of their life review and the things they did while living. Okay, here's the question. What do you think Hitler's experience was like? How do they reconcile the pure, unconditional love against someone who committed atrocities? Okay, so that kind of sets it up. But before we get started and get too deep into this, we need to let those who don't know a little bit of history of who actually Hitler is, okay? Because some people don't even know who Hitler is, believe it or not.
Most older people know, but there's
a new generation. Correct. So those of you who know who Hitler is and the atrocities that he was known for, okay, or the murdering of millions, like 6 million plus.
I don't even know how
people,
many. I just know it was a large number.
Yeah. So this was a German back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. He was born in 1889 and died in 1945. But he was a German politician, and had became the actual leader of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's known for his role of initiating World War II in Europe by invading Poland, and for his leadership during the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were systematically murdered. Okay, so when people talk about horrific things that others have done, for some reason, when they look at someone like Hitler or some of these other people that have brutally abused or murdered or tortured and just mistreated others, and especially like on the mass scales of millions upon millions, I mean, it's horrific. How do you put that into perspective where someone that can commit so many things like that and then they die, okay? And let me throw in there, by the way, for those who don't know, not only did he kill all of those 6 million, or was responsible for, I wouldn't say he did, but yeah, he's definitely connected to it. However, in the end, guess what? He took his own life. So a lot of people don't know that, So he's also got the act of suicide on his hands. So let's take this fellow human being, okay, this person that came here to do whatever they needed to do, and kind of put it in that kind of perspective, kind of letting people know who he is and the person that he is. So if someone can do all of that stuff, how does that tie in when they cross over, okay? And from our experience of near-death experiences and, reviews and interviews and studies and all things like that, today we're going to incorporate and give you guys a different perspective, because we have a lot of different ways to react to that question. And one of the things I noticed when I was looking at this question on the Facebook group, I like to go in and start reading people's reviews, okay? And that's kind of where you can see and you get a lot of nuggets from there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Here's what I noticed, okay? You can tell which individuals are heavily religiously indoctrinated in relation to those who are more spiritually developed, spiritually mature, maybe has a lot more experience with the NDE world, maybe
have had an NDE.
Had NDEs themselves, absolutely, or just get it on a whole different level. So when you start to train your mind and your eyes to be able to see, I mean, it becomes so evident that you can see the spiritual in things, but you can also see the indoctrinated dogma. Let's start off with that right there, to kind of get things rolling. Daphne, any comments on that?
Oh, yeah, of course. I did not realize this, because, I'm old enough, I know who Hitler was and what he done. And I never knew that he committed suicide. So that's something new to me. But at the same time, I have the website from Susan Giesman pulled up here, because as soon as you said he committed suicide, she answers that, or Sanaya, her channels, her guides, answers what happens to someone when they commit suicide. Yeah. On the other side.
Well, if you would hold that thought as far as that suicide part, because we can definitely incorporate that in here.
Yes.
But what I'd like to do is focus more on the hell topic right now, because that's going to probably take up most of the episode anyway.
Sure.
Because I'm kind of looking at more of the 6 million that he killed, although he did kill himself as well, the suicide part. So the suicide does apply. However, most people have an issue with the 6 million that was involved some kind of way, directly linked to him in a not so good way. It's a very negative, horrific way from our perspective as fellow humans here on Earth.
Right, and it's just one thing we have to set aside. We have to set aside our judgments, because that person's conscious spirit, soul, has to learn and grow themselves. When we place judgments on something, we're involving ourselves in something we don't need to be involved in. It's the ego really just reaching out saying, we need to condemn this, or we need to do that, when it's really no concern to you. Is it helping your spirit, your soul to grow and to love? Or is it keeping you in a negative, more judgmental place?
Well, to go with that thought, I'm glad you said ego, because to tie in with my comment earlier, when watching these other people, reading these other people's reviews and comments and questions and their input on the subject, the ego is so directly tied into what I call more of the religious people, okay? These are the ones that say, oh yeah, he is in hell, he is burning, oh, he deserves to be tortured, he deserves to be in hell, oh, God is going to take care of him and give him the justice he needs. So that's more of coming from the ego. That's coming from the religiously indoctrinated mindset. Now, however, on the other side, you have these individuals that says, hey, God is love. Who are you to judge another? When Hitler's going to have to deal with what Hitler had to go through, that's between him and the source. It's not for us to say where he is or that he needs to be somewhere else. You need to look at yourself. You need to look and, sweep your own back porch, and
Exactly.
don't be worried about other people and the hate that you have for others, even though he did what he did. And none of us are condoning. None of us. Okay. In the grander scheme, but the situation is we're dealing with what we can't even comprehend as humans, but what we call and describe as love, or even God, or whatever word you want to use to describe the all, the source, and you cannot comprehend the love of that. And then we hear story after story after story of people that's done horrific things and have to deal with those things. So what we're going to do, we're going to start kind of leaning more over towards the actual near-death experience part of it. But before we do, we're going to get a very good, clear understanding of both sides, okay? So before we go any further, we need to focus on this divide that we're seeing, okay, between ego and spirit. You can tell the people who are speaking from ego, okay, these are the ones that are saying, no, he is burning, he needs to burn, he deserves to burn. Who are you? Okay, you deserve to burn as well. We all deserve to burn if you want to look at from a religious torture, torturing kind of perspective.
Because we've all made poor choices.
Absolutely.
Who is anyone to point the finger and condemn another?
Absolutely.
We're supposed to love, and more love. Smother everything in love, because that's what's on the other side.
Right. And those who are coming from that perspective is coming from a religious perspective, okay? And that's not more of a loving, it's more of a, it's just not loving.
Right. And from what I've understood and read, that, so many people ask about, well, then what is the true religion if this is not this and this is not that? But the true religion is love. It's, religion as we know today, the doctrinal, the different denominations, is all a result of misinterpretations of the teachings of the various masters and the abuse of the power of the ones that were in control. So all of that aside, there's no need for any of that. We have to search within ourselves and realize that Spirit is guiding us, and that the true religion is love. Love covers a multitude of sins.
And this is what all the greats taught us. This is what all the ascended masters has taught us. So understand that one side of the fence, and it's almost a fence, and I hate to put it that way because here in this world there's that duality thing, but on the other side there's a oneness, and until you learn that you are one with the all, you don't have a right to be judging others. You don't have you don't even have a right to really be putting out these opinions that you think the person should be. But it's okay. I get it. I understand. We all are human. We've all been through it, and we still go through these kind of issues. And it has to do with our indoctrination and our not understanding the deeper things of life that they didn't teach us in school.
Right.
We're learning this from people who's going on the other side, from channelers, from, mediumships to, near-death experiencers, people going and crossing over and coming back from like tens of thousands of different experiences. That's backed up both medically and scientifically.
Exactly. And and the thing that you see in these NDEs more than anything is the love,
You
the
have to
common
get
thread
the
through all of
concept
it,
love.
the separation of ego and spirit.
Right.
You know, but our lower self, what we're calling ego, is our lower self. That is the physical body.
It's
And
the
then we
body, it's
have
human
the separation of, which is the spiritual, the conscience, the soul. That's all it is. It's conflict within each. I mean, if you're condemning another, you're caught up in the ego. You're caught up in the lower self, not listening to your higher self.
part. You don't have an understanding. You haven't spiritually developed to a level of understanding of that oneness yet.
Exactly.
You know, which leads me to the other side of the fence. Let's kind of look over to the other side of the fence, and then we'll be able to kind of get an idea more about the question at hand. Is Hitler in hell? Okay. Now, on the other side of the fence, you see a lot of these people who are answering this question. Many of them are talking about how God is love, how Hitler will have to, he's going to have to deal with what he had to deal with, what he put out. More specifically, like in the life review, that's something that I feel and I believe in, that, could you imagine the life review he had to go through? Okay. So we're going to tie some of that stuff in too that you and I were talking about earlier. I'll get you to read that for me here in a second. But, we have to understand that every one of these experiences we get back, regardless of the hell that you created here on earth, when you get to the other side, you have to be purified just to be able to exist. Okay. Now, Hitler, when he had his life review, and for what I understand, that people who create atrocities or just really bad things, they typically go straight to the life review. Okay. In a lot of cases, which we'll cover that here in a moment as well. And I'll get Daphne to go ahead and read that to you guys, because we were talking about that earlier. And but the point is, we've got to see things from a loving perspective, not a religious, indoctrinated, egotistical.
We weren't born with religion. We were born with everything we need to survive and live and experience this life.
Right. And we have experience after experience after experience coming back saying there is no religion on the other side. There is no hell on the other side. Okay.
Exactly.
So if there is no hell, no religion, then how can any of these people be really tormenting or being tormented, should I say, on the other side or in this place? The point is that what we understand, that hell is a frame of mind.
State of mind, yes,
It is
exactly.
a state of mind. So what we're going to do, Daphne's going to share some information with you guys from one of her mentors, Miss Suzanne.
Miss Susan Giesman.
Yeah.
Suzanne
And she's going to share something that would kind of touch base on what we're talking about here. And then after she reads this to you guys, we're going to go ahead and kind of start putting these pieces together. Daphne, if you don't mind, could you read that, please?
Sure. We do hear so many people ask about the question, is there a hell? And is Hitler there in hell? Okay, first off, we have to realize that hell is not as we envision it. It's not a place, but a state of mind. And no one is trapped there or remains there as a result of their own thoughts. We create our own heaven and hell. Nothing is as it seems. All is perception. All is actually neutral. We have to look at it as, a blank canvas. We're coloring in those pages. Are your colors going to be dark or light? We're here in Schoolhouse Earth, so we have to learn and choose the way things are going to be, the colors and hues that we're going to paint on that canvas. So we have to choose wisely and remember, if we do not like the results, we can always change those paintings and our perceptions of things. For those like Hitler who have murdered millions of people, and what we consider very evil acts on this side of the veil. From Suzanne's guide, Boris, he comes across and says that a heavy energy comes with that question. For there is much heaviness in our world when we receive from one of your world who has so little advanced. These souls, they are shown their lives immediately. They see their mistakes. They know what they have done wrong. This is the lowest of the low vibration that we have on the other side. They remain submerged, you might say, unable to mix with those who have understand love while on your earth plane. They feel nothing of the love that is available to all others. They feel nothing but tremendous remorse. Just try to imagine the most repulsive emotion, regret beyond anything you can imagine. When their eyes are open to the effect that what they have done on others, they slowly learn to understand this. At first, it is like a lost cause, for they come to our side not understanding injustice, not understanding the pain they cause to others until they feel the pain themselves. And I'm going to stop right there because that ties in with what I was mentioning earlier about the suicide. And when someone commits suicide, they are taken straight to their life review. And this is what's happening with those who have, like Hitler, committed many murders. So they're going straight into their life review so that they can have their purge. Once they have their purge and can feel and regret to move forward.
It's hard for them to feel that love, but all they feel is that remorse. So you will be affected by that.
Right.
And if you don't mind, I don't want to get too off hand here, off subject. We were talking about it earlier. I've heard of accounts where, when you are tuned in to the all, to the one in your life review, and you start to feel the pain of others, that even that can be so unbearing. I mean, I've heard of incidences where people even had the spirits kept holding them up because it was so intense. Okay, we've got to understand, you will feel what those other people felt.
Exactly. And you just reminded me of another account that I have heard of on the life review of an NDEer who said that he had lived a good life, a decent life, and didn't think he had really done anything too bad in his life. And when he went through his life review, he had just a few accounts of he didn't even realize he had hurt people. And he was having to feel their pain, their suffering. And they kept replaying these different accounts that he had hurt people. And he's sitting here going, oh no, please stop. Oh no, and he had lived a good life.
Right, it's unbearable.
So we do not know the simplest thing could have hurt somebody. And you're going to have to feel that.
Yeah, I love it.
So these people who have had these millions of murders on their hand, once they go through this life review, they're purged. They're clear to go to the other side.
Right.
Of love.
Pardon interruption. I was going to say it, but it says a lot of them, it says it's not able to mix with those of that bright light until they get over their remorse.
Exactly. They're in like
they have to go in recovery.
Yes.
So the concept of someone going into recovery, until they can understand that concept of love again in relation to somebody who's being tortured and tormented forever, and I like how it's brought out here. It says that not understanding, when people cross over there's not an understanding of what injustice really is. On this side, people commit injustice because they don't really have a comprehension of what injustice is. What is the ultimate way to feel justice or be justified? It says right here.
You feel it.
Until they feel the pain themselves. When you can feel the pain, it's kind of like, any of you guys that's had children out there, I'm not saying every child is like this, but I see it in many situations. At an early age, little bitty toddlers, little babies, but once they get the concept or being able to bite others, okay, some of them get into the habit of being little biters. I've seen that before. Mm-hmm. And I've also seen, and I might have even done it myself, but I'm kind of old school, but understand this, and this is not coming across as any kind of a child abuse or anything like that, but there's been situations, a lot of times if that child bites someone else, just turn right around and you bite the child back. Just a little, you don't have to draw blood or take a chunk of skin out, but let them know there is a pain involved
Associated with that, yeah.
Well, that is the perfect example, and I've seen them, biting habits being broken just from that one simple act.
Yes.
So when you understand the concept of injustice, when you inflict something to someone else, okay, that is the ultimate, either good or bad, okay, for you to be able to feel that back. It's the perfect balancing act, and it fits so much more in harmony with a God of love, okay, or a source of love. I'm not denying that anyone has not ever had what we would call a hellish near-death experience, or a distressing NDE, the distressing near-death experiences, because these things are very common. Not nowhere near as common as the good ones, but they do happen. So we're not knocking it out of the picture, but just because they're having these experiences, it doesn't really prove that there's a real, literal, physical.
Right. It's not a
tormenting
physical place. It's a state of mind. And that's the way that this is brought out through Susan's guides, that it is not a physical place, but a state of mind.
And this state of mind is purged, and it will be purged.
Right.
And once it's purged, you're pure again. You can go back to source.
And I think that's just a result of our bad deeds and our poor choices, is a result of us not being completely aware of the God within us. Because if we realize that, we would know that we are loved. We wouldn't want to hurt another soul. We wouldn't want to, hurt others in any kind of way.
You would be more empathetic.
Right.
You'd be more of an empath, and you would have more love for your fellow man.
Right.
When you understand that you are that person is you, and that we all are God, or our source, what we call source, or the love, the all. And when you understand that if you are that person, if you are the all, then when you do that, you're doing it to yourself.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
if you don't grasp that concept right now, guess what? You'll have to experience that concept on the other side, according to the NDEs, not according to my anything I've ever said, because I'm not an expert on this by no means, and I do make that claim that but just from our studies and research of tons and tons and tons of these near-death experiences, there's nothing but love on the other side.
Exactly, and that's the beauty in all of this. Once those who have had a distressing NDE, a lot of times they do, once they realize that experience that they're going through is not all there is. When they say, "Oh God, help me," they ask for a higher help. Immediately, they are on the love side.
Yes.
So it is a state of mind.
Yes, I understand. It's once you humble yourself.
Exactly.
As well on the other side too. If you're thrown into that darkness or whatever, humble yourself.
Right.
And you're thrown right back automatically into the light, and realize that you can't do these things on your own, that you do need that source.
You need to go back to source, yeah.
You got to go back to source.
And that source is love, and we are part of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with that question in mind, we've got a few more minutes here. Let me ask the question again, and then let's kind of go over what we've kind of covered today. And it's hard, and there's so much more, and feel free to check out a lot of our other podcasts, because we cover so many different topics, and this one is kind of covered in different ways, but there's more information out there, and we'll probably do a whole lot more, because it's such a broad subject. But the main point is, okay, and the question is Hitler in hell? Okay, we're going to answer that here shortly, and do it based on the things that we have learned in this particular podcast. So,
okay, before we end, I want to bring back up. I had touched on it earlier about the suicide, because I didn't realize that Hitler had committed suicide. I know several people that have committed suicide, and religion teaches us that they're in a separate, tormented place. Right. So, and that's what I heard growing up myself.
I've heard lots of different stories,
Taking it to Suzanne's site, through her guides, someone asked, what happens in consciousness when someone takes their own life? And they say it's a very good question indeed. And Suzanne has had the opportunity to converse frequently with those who have taken their own lives. We wish to tell you that all souls, regardless of how they have passed to the other side, are surrounded by love. Upon passing from the human body, all souls, we say it again, all souls are surrounded by love.
Wow. What does that tell you? Again, I think it goes back to us not really understanding the true meaning of that love on the other side, because we see things in human terms.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of hate in the human world.
We're limited
All of
on
us
this
have
side.
hate in us,
Yeah.
believe it or not. You may not think it. But when you're
Oh,
making that judgment call and say, well, he needs to burn, well, guess what? That's hate in you. Whether you admit it or not, whether you accept it or not, when you curse another human being, that's
If you
hate
say
coming from you, and
somebody-
it'll come back on you.
Yeah, if you say somebody deserves some kind of punishment or something bad to happen to them, you need to check yourself right there and say, where is this coming from? Because that's not loving.
It's not.
To say that someone deserves bad things or poor choices, things to happen to them in their life.
And it doesn't make it easy, because I totally get it. I totally get it. We hold these beliefs very strong, and we do not for once, trust me, condone any of the acts that these people have done for whatever reason they did it for. That's not what this is about. Okay. What this is about is understanding that there's something way bigger than we are. And as long as you continue to keep looking through your ego, keep looking through your religious lens, okay, your indoctrinated lens, then you're only going to be at a certain level as well. However, for those of you out there who are, actually getting it, and you're seeing it, that know that God is love, or love is God,
Awakened or
yeah, that
enlightened.
source, however you want to look at it, absolutely, you are the enlightened ones, because you understand that, hey, regardless of what we've done, we're all in this together. On the other side, that kind of garbage probably don't even matter. It doesn't even exist, from what I understand. These things cannot exist. Things we humans experience over here, especially the low vibrations and the darker and the negative, all that garbage over here cannot vibrate or exist on the other side. So those of you out there who actually get it and know that we all are of source, and that God is love, and that, you're going to have your life reviews, and, you cannot get away from what you've put out. You can only harvest the seeds that you've planted. You can't plant a corn and get watermelon. You can't plant a apple and
You
get an
reap
orange.
what you
Well,
sow.
You reap what you sow. So you will have to face the decisions that you made in your life, whether it is you harmed one person or whether you harmed 10 million people. Okay? That's between that person
And source.
and source. It has nothing to do with you, me, or any other person in this particular realm, and it's not for us to say.
Right.
So that kind of pretty much sums it up, because like you had just brought out a while ago, all souls are of source, and all souls are surrounded by love.
Right.
And when they cross over, okay?
Right.
So you need to get a grasp and understanding of what love is on a level that's not human love, okay?
Right.
If that makes any sense.
It does make sense to me. Perfect sense. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So the final question, one more time, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Is Hitler in hell? And the answer is, I have no idea.
If it's a state of mind, then
My answer would be, my answer would be that it depends on what your definition of hell is, and the true answer is, I have no idea. Because, if you're looking at hell as a fiery tormenting, like, Dante's Inferno or something with the devils and demons and, a god of vengeance and
in your belief
torturing
system,
people in your belief system, then that's where it would be. But that's in your mind. Always keep that in mind. It's in your mind. That is your BS. Belief systems. Okay? Keep that in
Right.
mind. So now
and everything is mind.
if you think that his hell was when he crossed over and he had to plug into his life review, and then he had to feel all of that torture of all those souls I mean, if one person, if you get distraught by 2 or 3 people that you've harmed and that you've hurt, and I've heard of, like I said, reviews of people falling and can't even stand up and haven't had the spirits kept lifting them up because, it is a life review. It is intense, and you will feel it as it happened. Okay, if that is hell, man, to me that's more of an example of a hell. If that's kind of more in harmony with what you believe, then he's had his hell and he's been purged, and and that ties in harmony with all the feelings of love on the other side, and a God of love or a source of love, or it's more in harmony with the big picture. So just give you something to think about there.
Most definitely it does.
Yeah. So any final comments? I hope I kind of touched on whatever. I know it's such a big subject.
Pretty good. I really do. We have to, like I say, we have to check our ego.
Yeah.
Check our ego and start experiencing life through the lens of love.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's easy to see. You can see it in people's comments. Your comments are a reflection of what's inside of you. It's your thing, your inner self. It's coming out in letters on paper or on the screen or whatever. But the point is, you can tell the people who have that religious, indoctrinated, egotistical, in their comments compared to those who have a more spiritual and a deeper understanding.
Exactly. And that's me. And I guess my biggest lesson in all of this is in starting to research these NDEs, the experiences, and doing it for as long as we have, I have gained such insight and truly have transformed my life. I try to live through that lens of love now. I mean, in everything I do. And I'm so thankful that something about these experiences piqued my interest to transform my life. I guess it was that little nudge that we get, that God wink that people want to call it. That's spirit letting you know, hey, you're on the right course. So I am so thankful for that and these experiences that have helped me transform my life. And hopefully it will help others transform their lives as well.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why we do what we do. That's why we're here, is to share these experiences with those guys and all of you out there so that you can have these same experiences as well and give you hope.
Feel the love.
And again, for any of those of you out there that has had a near-death experience or may know someone who has, or even had an out-of-body experience or some kind of supernatural experience or a spiritual experience, anything really cool, go to NDE.world and get with us, and we'd love to have you on the show.
Yes.
Absolutely. So with that thought in mind, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, and we love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in, and may peace be with you all. Until next time.
Y'all let your light shine.
For more information about the NDE World Podcast, visit NDE.world. That's NDE.world.